Hello, welcome back to our Thursday evenings and the conversation. It's just after 11 p.m. here in the UK. And as always, we get a chance to chat to some fantastic guests from the creative industries. This week, we're heading off to Los Angeles to talk to a man who has, well, the voice of many. He is a voice actor who is just simply fantastic at his job. He has sustained a career in Los Angeles, working in Hollywood for many years now. This week, we welcome the voice actor Jason Anthony joining us, and you can see immediately some of the voices that he has been a huge part of, some of those productions that he is a key player on. So thank you so much for being with us, and welcome to the conversation. Hello.
Hey, hi, Tom. How you doing?
It's really good to see you. So immediately, we are in your booth in LA.
Yes. How exciting. Yeah, this is it. This is where a lot of the voices out of my head explode onto this microphone, especially now during COVID, of course. We've all resorted to our home studios, which is a blessing as well,
Yeah.
of course. But yes, this is it. I'm afraid nothing terribly fancy.
That looks like a very fancy microphone there. Anyone who watched last week's episode knows I'm a bit of a microphone addict.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That is a beauty. It's an industry standard, I guess. Now the Neumann U87 classic. I think it was 1967. I think that was first design. I don't think they've changed the design in all that time. It is simply a beautiful microphone.
Maybe we should start actually with being in a space where you get to create, being in a place where you're able to bring sounds alive. I mean, just, we assume knowledge a lot of the time, don't we? But that booth you're in
Yes.
there, on the wall, I can see that you've got soundproofing.
Yes.
The space itself is what presumably quite a small space, but that's designed in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like, when you hear about astronauts going into space and there's no sound, that's what you're trying to create here. And it's amazing. And I'm sure you'll appreciate this, Dom, and some of your viewers and listeners. Sound is so difficult. It is one of the hardest things in any production is to get great sound. And when you're trying to create an environment at home, every single little thing that you have in your studio can react, especially with a microphone as sensitive as this, metals, flat surfaces. So pretty much everything in here has either got acoustic foam tiles, padding. Sometimes I even add just extra cushions and pillows in here if I'm doing like a lot of shouting for video games. I'll even add even more padding in here for the sound to be absorbed. But yeah, behind this, even in between these walls, there's acoustic insulation. Yeah, and I can still hear aircraft even with all this. You can still hear a good old Boeing 747 heading over.
Now, listen, anyone who's just tuning in, and thank you so much for joining us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube on the Laughing Frog Productions YouTube channel as well, will notice that you're not an American, Jason. You have an English voice.
I do, yes. I have played a couple of American characters, Brabus, King of the Hungry Mud Dogs. I occasionally turn it on, but most of my characters are British through and through.
So where do you hail from? Where did you start in the UK?
Yeah, I grew up in Buckinghamshire, just outside of London. Yeah, and I really didn't move much around England. I came to Los Angeles in 2005 originally, only really to take some acting classes, to sort of feel the industry out here and see what sort of opportunities were. So, as I've spoken to a lot of Brits in the industry here in entertainment, we've all said the same thing. We only came out for a few weeks.
It's a holiday.
15 years later, 20 years for some, 30, even a lifetime for others. But it all started as, I guess, a lot of this it's just sort of bit of a research trip. I think most people that I've encountered.
But over here, Jason, you were part of the UK Disney Channel, weren't you?
Yeah, that was my first launch into entertainment, really. Playhouse Disney. At the time, they had Disney Channel, and they were just the US had launched Playhouse Disney a couple of years prior, I think, and so that brand now was making its way to the UK, and then consequently, it went all over Europe and all over the world. So yeah, I was part of the first team of on-camera presenters for Playhouse Disney
Yeah.
preschool. And a funny story out of that is where I met my very dear friend. He might be watching or listening now, Mr. Phil Gallagher,
Mr. Maker,
aka Mr. Maker. That is where I met Phil, Mr. Maker, on my first audition, very first audition. And of course, consequently, we met at a production. We filmed at Leavesden Studios when it was a Rolls-Royce. I think it was still the Rolls-Royce factory. So George Lucas had been in prior filming the Star Wars Phantom Menace and turned the warehouses, the production hangars, into studios. And so Phil and I worked there together, and Phil became the he'll love this. He became the Playhouse Disney postman and would deliver the mail. And I was the storyteller. Circle time with Jason in the Playhouse Disney garden. It was fantastic. What a great few years that was.
And actually, as a result of that, lifelong friends with Phil.
Absolutely, yeah, dear friend. Love Phil. Love you, Phil.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sure if he is watching right now, he'll be asking a few key questions coming up a little later on. By the way, if you've just joined us, welcome along to tonight's edition of The Conversation. I'm Dominic King, and you're watching the live stream with Jason Anthony on the program tonight. Jason is a voice actor in Los Angeles. We should, I guess, give a little indication for those who maybe don't know your name, because that is highly possible in this creative world of ours. We don't always assume that everyone knows who we are, but the work and the voice, they certainly will. For things like this. Now that is a gallery of work, and that is just a minor percentage of the kind of things that you do. But I want to maybe pick on a few of these things if we can, just to get us started off, really, more than anything else, because my eyes just zoom around that screen, because it's so exciting to see all that work, the graphics, the knowledge of what that's all about. I'm going to start off, I think, with the Star Trek Discovery. That's a series where your voice, well, quite frankly, you scared the living daylights out of me with that voice. There's something about the voice of an Englishman as an AI, as a computer, that just strikes fear into us. I think that always has been the case. I'm not sure if he was English, but the voice of Kit in Knight Rider,
Yes.
That I think almost was like it's a friend, but also a bit creepy because it really can operate this car.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, there really is something about the British accent in terms of ship computers and droids and villains. And I think probably George Lucas was a very big part of that when he filmed Star Wars: A New Hope back in the mid 70s in England. Had to, obviously, because of unions and things, had to pull uh, uh, resources from the UK and actors from the UK. So of course, all of a sudden, his universe was filled with British accents.
Yeah,
Peter
amazing.
Cushing and Alec Guinness or Alec Guinness. So yeah, so I think it's a sort of a natural path now for sci-fi. I based that voice when they asked when I auditioned for that. I immediately thought of Dave. Hello. Do you remember Dave,
Yeah.
the computer voice, 2001: Space Odyssey? I'm afraid that's not possible. He was just very matter of fact. System online. I'm afraid that's not possible. Please try again. It's just, and then they added the extra element where I actually get sort of a bit corrupted in that show. And so all of a sudden I went from systems online to system offline. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, it's only a minor adjustment, but it all of a sudden starts to get just very sinister. And
Yeah.
just with those few words, you can turn something into something that's, helping you and assisting you to something that is against you um, and is in control. And
Yeah.
that's what I really love about especially that part, because there were very few lines, but they had such gravitas in the scenes. And you think on the outside, well, that's easier, but the fewer lines you have, the harder it is to portray what you're trying, because now you've got to convey and condense into 2 or 3 words.
But that precise nature, that sound of creating that almost detached voice that
Yes.
completely controls everything. I mean,
Mhm.
it can be so scary, and on those episodes, it definitely had that pull. And then obviously, anyone who's watched those particular episodes will know that you kind of just take it to another level, and it's kind of whoa. I
Yeah, it's
love that.
pretty nasty. I hope AI doesn't get like that,
No,
because that
no.
was pretty
Let's hope not.
graphic.
Eh? Although I do realise how obsessed I am now with bizarrely telling my lights to come on in this studio here, and yet
Right.
all I could do is press my finger on the same button just over there. Bizarre.
We're not gonna
But
do it.
we're not. No. Okay, another one that I want to pick on, and we'll come back to some of these other ones as we go along. But Call of Duty: Modern Warfare. Now, with Call of Duty. A key character voice that you are ultimately that top character in that, and it what I think is amazing is just how, and we'll talk a bit about it, but the computer gaming world
Oh,
is
yeah.
just, you can't even begin to say how huge it is. But tell us about your character first of all.
Yes, I play, Otter. Now, Otter is an SAS. Um, Grew up in the East End. Little bit where a wayside as a kid, and as a teenager, got in a lot of trouble. And then went into the British Armed Forces and then trained as SAS. So a lot of people play as Otter throughout the entire operations and games. What's incredible about Call of Duty in particular, it is such a huge franchise. The fans are so loyal, and it's been so great to me, because this is my first introduction to Call of Duty. I've been doing video games for quite a long time,
Yeah.
but this is my first Call of Duty. So these guys are playing, and the gameplay is just off the charts. It's amazing. These guys are playing your character day in, day out it launched over a year ago, so people are still playing nearly every day your character. So they get to know your character even better than you do, because they're hearing every single line. It took me, let's see, I think in all it was about 10 or so hours of recording. to get all of Otter's lines out.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yes, it is a long time. We always split it up because obviously it's very challenging on the throat, and a lot of them, incoming. A lot of them are RPG. It's all in the field, so it's all on your toes. I got you 6, for Queen and Country. But then, of course, you have to do all the shouting and stuff, and you're trying to, right, this is where we jump, go. You've got to talk and perform above what is going to be in the game, a Hercules C-130 in the background, so it's very demanding on the actors on the throat. So we split obviously those sessions up. And those then, I mean, these guys listen to those all day long. So it's pretty incredible. And I think as far as me as a voice actor, it turns into one of the biggest things you've done, because if you look at it in terms of when somebody goes to watch a movie, you watch the movie and
Right.
you're done.
Yep, got it. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
2 hours, brilliant. This is hundreds of hours listening to your voice, hundreds of hours. So I'm thrilled that they're still talking to me. But voice.
That's a really good point, isn't it? Because you're right. The film that I think in the past we all were thinking you're in the movie. That's it. That's the big thing. That's fantastic. But the gaming world has just overtaken everything. And the fact that online, we know with Twitch that people are just constantly playing 24 hours a day, all through the year, stopping maybe at Christmas for a bite to eat and then carrying on again.
Exactly.
It's really full on. But if you're in that world, and they want the voice to continue, presumably the life of the character can be as long as they want it to be in the game. So therefore, you might have work for the rest of your life potentially. I don't know. Wow, maybe not the geriatric version of said character, but but it is a constant thing. I just wondered about that voice as well.
Yes.
Do you have to go back on any voice that you do where you then return to a series or a computer game? Do you have to go back and listen to that voice to remind yourself, or is it there?
It kind of stays there. It's funny. It's a bit like when you do impressions. Once you have that muscle memory of a voice, it kind of stays there. Now they will. Over the last year, I've done subsequent recordings for Otter for like Warzone, which is another mission off of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Then they did the mobile version. So I've done additional recordings, and they will always play me my voice. But I mean, Otter, I can always just slip straight into it. and they love that, because then they're like, oh, great. Yeah, there's Otter. Brilliant. All right. Are we all ready? Great. But occasionally, I mean, I did the voice for Teclis, for Warhammer 2. And that's a voice that is in a slightly different range than Otter. Teclis is more here. I am Teclis, Lawmaster of Hoeth. He's a lot more gentle, but it's always good to get that reference when you jump into the booth, because they need it for continuity too. And that's the other thing you see with video games is, they add on missions throughout the year, if you like. Once the initial launch is over, they add missions on. So often you are called back to then add dialogue to additional missions and chapters of the story. So
it's full on, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's the video games eclipses movies, film, music, everything. If you compared it like for like, it just dominates everything else. It is a giant business.
One of the amazing parts I know that have been for you is entering this world of Lego Star Wars, and as a brand, it's just been incredible. But as something to watch, what I love about it is that before I started watching it with my nephew, I thought to myself, oh, well, that's not for me. I won't be interested. Oh, my goodness me. It just goes to prove that
Hmm.
there are writers who are clearly writing for the kids, but they're definitely writing for the adults.
Yes. Yeah. It's they navigate that so well, Lego. I mean, I've been a fan of Lego since I was a kid. When I went back home last year, I actually found my first. I mean, they must be from the 1970s. My first Lego figures, the first ones with a bald head. They didn't even have any hair on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been a Lego fan ever since. And to see what Lego have done and how they've aligned themselves with brands, but then to make Lego movies and Lego video games and Lego mini movies and Lego series, and I've that's what it's just thrilling for me. I've just had such a great connection with Lego as a child, and now in my career as a voice actor, I've been blessed to have a connection with them again, with Lego Star Wars and Lego Hero Factory and all these shows, especially Hero Factory. I'm hearing from a lot of fans because we're very caught up right now in nostalgia, not surprisingly with what's going on. We are looking back on to what some people consider better times,
Yeah.
happier times. And so these shows are all sort of starting to have a second life. And I hear a lot of people, that were fans of Lego Hero Factory. I played Nex uh, in Hero Factory. Nex was he was an Australian, so I always modelled him on a little bit on like Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just going to say.
there's always somebody that you can kind of, when you get a character, you think, oh, yeah, because they wanted him enthusiastic, techie. So, yeah, so that was Nix. Yeah. So I
But
pulled on that impression I used to do of Steve Irwin.
that's great, isn't it? Because that's also been something that I think as a kid, when you were at school, you were definitely picking that up by just being in the classroom and kind of getting those kind of voices that you were hearing around you.
Yes, that's where I got into a lot of trouble at school for that. I couldn't help it. I was
What did you
just
do?
Well, I would make fun of the teachers, and there was a geography teacher, and one of his catchphrase. Even teachers had catchphrases. So his catchphrase was, "As we can see on the overhead projector." So I'd be whispering that at the back, "As we can see on the overhead projector." Canning. What?
Oh, that's brilliant. So,
Yeah.
so that actually, in a way, I guess that got your vocal cords going, didn't it? Just to kind of
Yeah.
like, that starting
Yes.
point, you kind of thinking, what's the tone here? How do I do that? Probably weren't even thinking about it, were you?
No.
You just kind of, it just was
No.
happening.
You know what, as well, Dom? I've not studied, but I've seen a lot of the beatboxers recently. They're very popular on
Mm.
TikTok. Anyone can do this. These beatboxers, when you watch them, when they're doing their all those incredible boing, boing, that's my beatboxing.
That's what I wasn't. I just wasn't going to comment. I just could see people watching, going,
What? Um, but it's all training the muscles
right.
to do those sounds, and it's no different for voice acting. It's no different for impressions. It's no different for singing. It's all training and repetition. And a lot of people ask me, well, how do I get into voice acting? Well, I think there's a lot of steps before you get into voice acting. First,
Right.
you've got to take a great acting class. Um, you could take an on-camera acting class. It doesn't matter, just a good acting class. But secondly, start training your voice. Start experimenting with your voice, and impressions is a great way to sort of navigate that field.
Can we just isolate as
Yeah,
well the
yeah,
distinction between voiceover and voice
yes,
acting? Because they
yes,
either combine because a person can do both, but
yes,
they can also be separate, can't they? Or
yes.
is
They
there a
can.
little bit of acting in every voiceover anyway because you're putting on a particular impression of or a sense of the product or the promotion or the film or whatever?
Yeah, it's I know it's a tricky one because basically, whatever you're doing, you are telling a story. Whether it's even a commercial, a narration, a character, um, a movie trailer, it's all storytelling. So it's often referred to as voiceover, voice acting. Some voiceover artists don't do much voice acting, or vice versa. Some voice actors out here, they don't do so much commercial voiceover. There's some guys here that just do movie trailers. That's their thing.
Well,
That
you know that last week Red Pepper was on the
yes, yeah,
conversation. I know you
yeah,
know Red's work, and
yes,
he also, as a voice actor, he does, away from his amazing, incredible tone,
yeah, yeah,
he does. He does other acting that you would never know it's him, because he's not
yeah,
using that normal voice, if there is
yeah,
such a thing in his world. Um, so it's interesting, isn't it, to see the diversity, and just hearing your voice and just some of the ones you've done. You transported us instantly into those different worlds. Anyone who's watched those shows, anyone who's played those games, has just had that character come to life out of your booth in LA, and that's,
yes,
for me, I just find that fascinating. That's why I wanted to do the conversation. I wanted the chance to
yeah.
kind of get behind the scenes and in that minutiae of the how does it work.
Well, this is one thing that I used to do, stand-up comedy, and one of the things in the UK when I was touring the UK, one of my jobs was, you're watching ITV1 in half an hour. It's Emmerdale. Right now, though, it's Coronation Street. I that was my
That was you.
first that was my first introduction into voiceover, and that was live voiceover. We were part of the ITV continuity team. Forget how many voiceover guys there were. Probably maybe 6 to 8, something like that. And we'd cross between ITV2 and ITV1. And I would often come on in the morning. You're watching ITV1, and time now for GMTV. You know, but that's what all we did. Again, in terms of like, is that voice acting? Is that voiceover? It's still bringing a personality
Mm.
and a story to the viewers. And a lot of the guys, including myself, that's all we did. We would go in every day and do live continuity. We'd be there 8 hours a day, 8-hour shifts, and we'd be in a booth not much bigger than this, and we'd have a foot pedal, which once you press that, you were live to the nation. So be very careful
Wow.
what you were pressing. Yeah, yeah. And you'd watch what was brilliant, Dom. It's probably different now because I'm going back to like 2004. But what I would see out of the glass viewing mirror, I would see the guy with the tonight's episode of Coronation Street, with that precious tape, putting it in the machine for the whole nation, queuing it up on his preview monitor, and then we're ready to go with Coronation Street.
I mean, just the very idea. I mean, it's like broadcast news, isn't it? The movie
Yeah.
where they're
Yes,
running down the corridor
that's right.
and they're putting in the, and jumping over everyone to put in the tape just in time for that. I love the idea of that. Funny enough, we're talking at a time when we just heard that the Dutch creator of the cassette tape has just died. A good innings, and just a incredible thing to think someone came up with that idea. And I think about that today, about that was yesterday, and I think today that it's we're in a digital world, and we remember analog, but analog is still kind of cool too. I like that. I like the fact that we can have both.
Yes, it's coming back again. This whole nostalgia thing. People want that visceral experience now with a record. I mean,
Yeah,
record
absolutely.
players now, people want to put that, that record down and put the needle on it and hear
I've
that
got one
little
just
crackle.
there. I've
Oh,
got one just there. And do you know what? The other day, I was raiding our family record collection, and I got the album out of Hair, the original, West
oh
End
yes,
production.
yeah.
And I've forgotten how rude it is. It's fantastic. There's words in there that I didn't even know how to spell. Look, just in case you're just joining us, welcome along to the conversation on a Thursday evening. We are here, aren't we? At what time are we at now? Almost 11:30 in the UK. What time's it there?
It's 3:30 here in sunny Los Angeles. Look at that view. Ah, spectacular.
It's those blue sea. The blue sea there's beautiful.
The sky is that blue. I swear it is.
I love it. If you've got a question for Jason, ask it now. Away you go. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, just send us your question, and we will run through these in the half an hour that we have remaining on the conversation tonight. It's always such a joy to see those questions coming in. We've got quite a few stacking up, so I promise we'll make sure we get to them. I know some weeks there have been questions that have come in, so make sure you get it in before midnight here in the UK, and then we get to answer them. And I know Jason's really keen to do that as well. One thing I wanted to ask you, and people might have just got maybe just something in their head where they're thinking, you look so familiar to me. There's just something about the face that I just recognize.
Thank you.
It's true, isn't it, that actually you went to Los Angeles, and one of the big jobs you had was a continuity in camera acting job as someone who looked fairly similar to one Jim Carrey.
Alrighty then. Yeah, they were actually specifically looking for somebody who could imitate his physical abilities too, and also look a little bit like him. It was for the Paramount Comedy Channel, and they wanted to brand it as Mr. Paramount. I don't think there ever has been or ever since been a Mr. Paramount. And so it was a fascinating process because it was a sort of a whirlwind of a job. It was one of, if not the first job I had in entertainment. It involved everything you love about movies. It involved green screen. It involved prosthetic makeup, chin.
Full chin, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I had a full chin. So an extended chin, cheeks. I had big teeth put in, a little bit like The Mask, in fact, except not so green. And the Ace Ventura hairpiece, which was a total work of art.
Do you know what? What's really funny is I don't know if this is happening for anyone else, but you've literally just frozen. That was really funny. You did it exactly the point where you said about, and then the chin, and then you froze in that way. That was like, I position. Thought, he's really good at holding still.
So we had the chin, the cheeks, the teeth. They modeled it on The Mask, except not so green. And then we had this incredible Ace Ventura hairpiece. That's all I can describe it. It was like this ice cream cone of hair. And at the time, it was state-of-the-art technology. We had a camera, digitized camera that would track my movements around the studio, around the green screen, and everything was put in post. There's some clips. If you just Google Mr. Paramount, he'll come up on YouTube. They even did, you know, that crazy spin they do in The Mask where it turns into the mask? Yeah. They even replicated that. It was amazing. I mean, and for me, I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. I'm sure a lot of people are. Just, oh my gosh, so what a talented guy. And so for me then to step into a role even just a little bit similar to that was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Have you seen the woman on TikTok who looks brilliantly like Jim Carrey?
Yes, people have said we need to duet each other.
I think you should. I think you should. I was just thinking that. I was thinking I'd like to see that because the duet thing on TikTok has become brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's so good. Just that's a great example of it. I could, just take a video and duet with that lady, and we could both be doing Jim Carrey, and she gets to meet me and I get to meet her, and the fans enjoy it as well. So it's a really great way to interact.
But TikTok's become huge for you in your life because actually the way
Yeah.
you and I met, and then we didn't realize we had a mutual friend in Phil Gallagher who is
Yeah.
watching right now and is just kind of going, what could I say?
Yeah.
I I saw you on TikTok and connected with you because
Yeah.
I saw that stuff you were doing with Arnie Schwarzenegger as a character, and then you. I mean, that was brilliant. That was so good, and it must have been a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah, I wanted to do a fun thing with the Terminator where he's not so sure of himself.
Yeah,
So, is your name Sarah Connor? And the lady says, no. Well, do you know a Sarah Connor? No. Would- does she live next door? Like, who is? What about the friend? Do you know a friend who is Sarah Connor? No. Okay, fine. Just this deflated
yeah.
Terminator.
So, oh,
And the other one I did, these are just funny things that come into my head, but I wondered what the internal dialogue was for the Terminator. And I always imagined it when he's trying to be all stoic and that. He's like, okay, you are the Terminator. You're a bad man. Okay, don't smile. Don't smile. Don't smile. Don't smile. Don't think about smiling. Straight face. Come on. Keep it together. That's what I put up on TikTok. Just some fun things that amuse me.
and did you was there a point where you thought, God, I want to be part of this? Because the great thing about TikTok, it's very short, so
Yeah.
therefore it's like these incredible webisodes that people can suddenly see this whole sketch, and then you go on to the next thing. But there's something cool about then enjoying a character. So for us over here, I'm sure it's reached over there as well, but the Wellerman, the traditional song.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
gone crazy for
Incredible.
the guy who started doing it, and then
Yeah.
it became it fed itself because then other people wanted to sing with it, and then they vocalized, and then before you know it, and then he gets a record contract, and then he's got a record out, and he was a
I
postman
know.
in Scotland saying, "I can't believe this has changed my entire life." But the TikTok thing
Yeah.
for you, you've got the career. Was it a bit of fun? Is it a bit of fun that you just enjoy doing, or is it more than that?
Um, I think it all has to be fun, I think, for me, and I think for a lot of people, um, I think if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. So it is fun for me. I love doing it, and I think it's a little bit like setting up a stall in a marketplace. People will tell you what they want and what they like and what they're buying and what they're not buying, and TikTok's kinda like that. You set your storefront up, and then you kind of think, that'll be fun. I'll do
Mm.
that. I'll enjoy doing that. Um, and I'll stick up some old clips of the voices I've done. Maybe maybe that'll be fun. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, people remember that. And then of course with Call of Duty, oh I play Otter 24/7. Like yeah, you're my main guy. Yeah, and so you think, oh wow, okay, I'll put some more. And then the questions start coming in. You know, and so you can start answering questions, and it just snowballs. And I think a lot of people, I don't think you can think too much about it really, because it's so random. You couldn't say, right, do an old shanty song and that will go viral. Solid. What, really?
Yeah,
You
because
can't.
no, you
No,
just wouldn't have thought that,
no,
and that's the funny thing. And
no.
actually, what I kind of like is, how often it's almost seen that if you're of a certain age, that those kind of older things that you've enjoyed or they've been part of your life, it's funny, isn't it, how they then, from a younger age group suddenly become a thing, and you think,
Yeah.
if I'd done that, it would have looked like, oh, old farts doing that.
Right, right. I know. Exactly. And I know a lot of
Oh.
people have said about TikTok, "Oh, it's all for kids," and no, it's not. And there's a lot of young people on it, but they're f I've never experienced a social media platform that's just so welcoming and supportive, and I'm just thrilled to hear from people. I'm thrilled that, you know they, some of them say that, oh, you made my childhood. I used to watch, Lego Star Wars and Hero Factory, and I used to watch you on Playhouse Disney. Like, you'd never have this connection with people without platforms like this. And I've just found it just so positive. Um, and then what a great creative outlet for people.
Mm,
What a great way to say, hey, listen, I do this. I'm just gonna do it because I do it anyway, but now I'm gonna film it and put it on TikTok, and
yeah.
I like that too, and then all of a sudden, it grows very, very quickly. So I love pretty much everything about TikTok, and, to everyone that's following me, thank you. I love hearing from you guys. It's really the icing on the cake. Somebody said to me the other day, "What's the best part of playing Otter?" And I said, the best part of playing Otter in Call of Duty is hearing from you guys. And it really is, because for us, it's a character. We go in, we do our job, we enjoy it, and then we're not normally privy to to what happens afterwards, you know, especially with video games. So it's wonderful to hear from people, and it's great that they're enjoying the character, and yeah, you do feel pretty good about it, which normally, as I say, you well, don't feel bad about it, but you don't normally have that opportunity to hear from so many people from around the world.
It, it
That's what's
it really
incredible.
connects people, and actually
Yeah.
that's why I'm really enjoying doing this as a live stream, because we're able to connect
Yeah.
people together, and people are, over the number of episodes we've now done, they're really enjoying those who come on and join us. By the way, that's a reminder about we're going to do it. The questions, if you've got a
Oh,
question
yes.
for Jason, because we don't want to run out of time, we're going to answer those in just a couple of seconds. So get yours in now. Thank you for sending in. Just seeing more messages coming in as we speak. If you're on Twitter watching, or Facebook or YouTube, then just put your question in there, and I can see it here, and then we'll ask Jason that for you and on your behalf, and you can hear his answer. And by the way, just a little bit to remind you of how to keep in touch with us here on the show. Very interested in getting you to join us on our YouTube channel for Laughing Frog Productions. So please do get in contact and subscribe to it. All you need to do is go to YouTube and type in Laughing Frog Productions, and you'll be able to join us here on the channel and get notifications as well. Like what you see, ring the bell, and come and join us so you get all of the conversations. You can also see the full gallery of all those who've had previous conversations with us in the last few weeks and months. Right, let's go to some of your questions. Jason, immediately, there's one that that I just immediately saw from a geek point of view, which I'm just going to ask without bringing up the question here, because I haven't got the name here. But from a geek point of view, can you tell me what headphones, or it's described here, what cans are you using right now?
Oh, yeah. Good question.
He's going to have to take them off.
I think these are Audio Technics.
Okay.
These are Audio Technic headphones. I recently had to have them recovered because I love them so dearly, and as you know, Dom, the padding kind of wears out, so they are a little bit of a custom job at the moment, because when I found out I could get different colored earmuffs, I was like, done.
Oh, you're so like me. It's unbelievable. The thing is, as well, though, it's quite important, isn't it, to have a decent pair when you're doing that kind of vocal
Oh,
work.
yeah.
So we heard from Red last week about the bleed that can happen otherwise, that you get too close to the mic and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right, let's take some of these questions then. Now, this one in from Laura. I do amateur voiceover for social media ads for brands. What are your top secrets or best advice for equipment?
Oh, equipment. Wow. I mean, it's rapidly changing so quickly. I always used a Rode mic. It's a very inexpensive microphone. I think it was the NT1. I think it's now the NT2. I think. But I used a Rode mic for such a long time before I got this. Um, I think it's only like £150 or dollars, so it might even be cheaper in the UK. But that's a great mic. try the mics out. I know we have stores here, and of course it's difficult now because of COVID, but your voice will sound different on loads of different mics. Like, it's not just because you've got a Neumann doesn't mean it's going to be fantastic. I mean, Neumanns are pretty good, but they are
But it
on
is
the
a
right.
range, isn't it? It is a
Yes,
range of different, and in fact, it's almost like, if you were playing a piece of music, you'd have different instruments for the different thing. Well, the voice is an instrument, and
it
you
is.
sometimes want to get a different sound out of it, so therefore use different mics for the occasion. I've been using
Yes,
different mics every time we've done this live stream because I want to have a different sense of them all, and I
yes,
want it to be part of the whole thing. And it's I think you're right. It is something, if you are able to, and I appreciate that
yes,
some people
yeah,
watching will go, do you know what, I can't afford that, but that's okay, because you start
yeah,
off with something and then you move on to something else, and then before you know it, when you're talking to your bank manager and they're saying, what on earth have you spent the money on,
right,
sorry, that was just
right.
me. You've then got this kind of canon of almost artillery, using the Call of Duty analogy,
Nice,
to
nice, Dom.
thanks. Thanks. I don't know why I did the voice as well, because I can't.
That was good. It was good,
but,
son.
but
Good.
that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I actually asked an audio engineer when I first started going out. When I booked one of my first big jobs, I asked them the same question: "What mic would you suggest?" And he immediately said the Neumann U87, but he said the Rode microphone is a great comparable mic. It's very warm tones, but if you can, try them out first, because your voice sounds different to mine, obviously, and some mics might capture that better than others.
Mm.
So try them out. But Rode's a good
Yeah,
place
and,
to
and
start.
ju- and just to balance with lots of different mic references. Although this is the reason we're talking about it, is because you asked quite rightly, Laura. Behind me, I've got the Aston Stealth for some of my other work that I do, and you just have loads of different versions, and
Yeah,
it's really good for different jobs, and definitely right. And when I started out in the industry, I never thought that was the case. I thought you find a mic that is the one for you, and then that's it. And of course, it's not. Right, next question up from Tim. Jason, do you think after COVID you'll be doing more from home rather than going to a studio? Is
ooh,
the genie out of the bottle and the home studio is king? Or do you like the
wow,
interaction with the production crew and cast in the studio? What a great question from Tim.
great question. We're all asking it. I think over the last year, I've recorded with Disney, DreamWorks, um, and some of the big video game production companies from home, which would never have happened. Um, I think we'll go back to going into the studio, and I'll tell you for one simple reason why. The productions now, especially video games, it's so close knit, it's so top secret that they are reluctantly, I think, you know, having people record at home, but it just puts the production under so much more stress if they can't have, for one, control of documents and things within the studio. Also, everyone has different setups, so the continuity with the sound is an extra challenge. For Call of Duty, we all went into the same studio. We used the same microphone. So there's continuity there. The scripts are so top secret. I would think a lot of studios might be a little bit more open to it, but I think we'll slowly go back to going into the studios. I miss it, even though we don't really interact with a lot of people. At most, we'll have, sometimes a couple of producers, a director, always, of course, an engineer and a script supervisor. Sometimes Nickelodeon will have, writers in there as well, a whole team of people, but generally that's the core people. So it is a great question. We've been asking it a lot. They have no choice at the moment but to have us record at home. And I think it will slowly, certainly for larger projects.
But something you enjoy is going on to the lot, going on
Yes.
to the
Oh,
place where you have dreamed about as a
yes.
kid,
Yes.
walking through those
Ah,
arches in Los Angeles, going past, saying hi to the security, going through, and
Oh
then
yeah.
being on the very places that some of the greatest ever films have been made. And you get to go into, I'm thinking of those places, like Disney and Warner Brothers, and just that all of those different spaces that you in a normal time would go to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't live that far from Warner Brothers. That place I hold dear to my heart because it's such a big part of my childhood. Even all the cartoons and seeing that Warner Brothers logo on all the movies, and now to actually stand, the opening credits where you see the Warner Brothers logo on the side of the sound stage,
Yeah.
on the what they call the vanity plate of the
Right.
Warner
Yes.
Brothers
Yeah. Yeah.
logo. Yeah, that's there. Like, you stand, it's actually a giant stage. It's one of their tallest stages, and you're looking at that very logo, that very soundstage that you've grown up watching. I mean, those studios have been there since the 20s. It never grows old, and I think for a lot of us, it doesn't grow old. I mean, to get a chance, it always feels such a privilege to be able to not only just go on those lots, Paramount, Sony, which was Columbia Pictures. It just it really is just, you feel something very, very special, and especially when you're turning up for work. It's like, wow, this is just amazing, amazing. And you'll walk by somewhere and you'll see what they do in a lot of the studios. They'll put a plaque up next to the soundstage of all of the major films that were filmed there, and you'll see them and you'll think, oh my gosh, Casablanca. Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart was in there filming Casablanca. It's like, yeah, it's so I always make time, Dom, if I can, when I've finished my session, if I've got time, I always make time for a little walk around the lot
What
because
I mean, you
I
just
just
would,
love it.
wouldn't you?
You've
It,
got to.
it's
You've got
like
to.
getting the keys to the Emerald City.
It is.
You've gone through the doors. You might as
Yeah.
well have a look.
Yeah. And it is just like in the movies. You'll see props being shifted over. You'll see stages. You'll see doors cranked over with these incredible sets in them. One time, I think I was in there and I saw the sunken ship for the Poseidon, the new Poseidon adventure, and it was a upside down banquet hall. I mean, it's like, what? Jaw-dropping stuff. I've seen stuff from the Marvel universe, the DC universe, the Batmobile just parked outside. You're like, whoa. And then you
Amazing.
have to keep it together. I'm trying to be professional,
Yeah, then you've got to go and do the work.
but,
Absolutely.
well, yeah.
Let's take another question. This one from Colette. Hello, Jason. Can you advise on a good showreel length intro section of different genres?
Yes.
How does that work?
1 minute. I tell you that from experience with agents out here. 1 minute, roughly around 10 to 12 seconds per character. Casting, especially, whether it's an agent or an actual casting director, their time is so valuable. You have a very, very short amount of time to capture somebody's attention. So there's no point giving them a minute or 30 seconds of one character. They won't get through it. So you deliver a character, even 5 to 10 seconds, then what have you got? Then switch it. Some people, as I say, that's just my opinion and what I've experienced with agencies, but, casting directors are swamped sometimes with reels, and agents are swamped with reels. So time is key. You need to get across very, very quickly. Start with your natural voice. If you're doing a character, if you're doing voiceovers, just start with your natural voice, just a pleasant read, and then you can go into different, a sports commercial, a trailer, all the different dynamics of your voice. But characters, if you're going to do a character reel, start with your natural voice placement first, and then show the dynamics and range of your voice.
Colette, what a great answer. That is amazing. I mean, that's a masterclass right there, but that's interesting, isn't it? 1 minute.
Yeah.
Almost sometimes we want to put so much of all the work we've done to showcase everything we could possibly do. The point is, a lot of the time, the very first thing is the visual, the ears, listening to what you sound like and thinking, yeah, that's the voice I'm looking for. And sometimes you won't get picked, I guess, because they're not looking for that voice. But that's okay, because the next person coming along might be. Jason, I'm going to look at this gallery. Look at this. So amazing work. And I want to pick up on one of those in the top right-hand corner there, Piney. Now,
Yes.
this is a character that you have done. What soundstage are you? Where are you there?
I'm at the LA studios, LA recording studios. They are solely for voice recording, and that was a couple of years ago. It premiered this last Christmas here in the US on Disney Channel, which was amazing. Two wonderful creators, Jay and Jane Bakerink. It's a story that Jane West Bakerink wrote 20 odd years ago now, and they made this themselves. They made this production completely off their own back. It's an extraordinary story. I'm probably not doing it justice, but basically they've gone from an idea 20 years ago of seeing this poor Christmas tree left on its own after Christmas, what happens to it, creating this wonderful story and character, to fast forwarding now to Disney saying, we like that. Can we play that on Disney Channel and Disney Junior? And can we play it every day over Christmas?
Wow, you can't even imagine what that must have been like to hear that from them as well, and go, wow. And you're alongside Simon Pegg's another voice in this,
yes.
and you,
Simon.
You're the lead.
I play Piney. Simon Pegg is Jackster the dog, his best friend. And then we've got Oscar nominee Jonathan Pryce as Grandpa Sid. Extraordinary. Wow. I mean, we've got Leslie Nichol from Downton Abbey as one of the elder trees. She's lovely. What a lovely lady. Hi, Leslie. She recently moved back to England for work. But it's an extraordinary cast. I feel honored to be taking on the role of Piney. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Do you think we might get it over here?
Fingers crossed. Yes, I can't say anything officially. I can neither deny or acknowledge, but
very good politician answer.
Hopefully.
That's brilliant. Look, we've nearly come to the end of our time together. Now, I know that, before we started this conversation, we've heard lots of the different voices that you have done over the years, the voices you're doing right now. And you and I had no discussion about whether the agent needed to be involved in this moment, but no. Colette has asked a very key question here, and I think maybe it's the way we should end, but feel free to say contact me agent on this one, because I'm throwing it at you. But Colette asks this: can you say, she's obviously got a show somewhere, can you say you're listening to the Collie D show in an Arnie accent, please? I mean, I know, Colette, how did I let you get that in?
Let's do this.
All right. So I'm going to go quiet here, so that undoubtedly you're going to take this off and use it on your show. So I'm going to go over to the master himself.
How are you doing? It is Arnold Schwarzenegger. You have to tune in to the Collie D show. Do it now. I hope that's what she was expecting.
Well, I hope
not
so.
Governor Arnie.
No. Governor Arnie, slightly different. Colette, you're welcome. That was a bit of fun. That's great. Yeah, I very much appreciated the message coming back. Thank you, great. Colette. Look, it's been absolutely a joy having you. It goes so quick, doesn't it? The time, it's just absolutely incredible.
I know.
It really is. But look, thank you so much for being with us. We wish you all the success with all the work you do. And hopefully we can have another conversation again in the future. That would be so good.
I would love that, Dom, and thanks to all of your listeners and viewers for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and they can always, I'm open for questions on TikTok, so they know where to find me at the Jason Anthony on TikTok. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Oh, it's been an absolute joy. See you very soon.
Yes, thanks, Dom.
Thank you, mate. There we go. What an absolute joy tonight to have Jason with us. And thank you for watching as well. Just a reminder then, you can subscribe to the conversation by going to our YouTube. Just type in Laughing Frog Productions, and then you'll be able to be part of this ongoing conversation we have here on the show. Here's what's coming up next Thursday at 11 p.m. UK time. I'm going to be staying in Los Angeles. Hollywood film composer Chris Willis and movie singer Elise Willis will be with me. Now, Chris, you may know, works a lot with Armando Iannucci on a number of his shows. He also works for Disney. So maybe Jason and he have probably come into contact on a show or two in the past. And Elise is part of the Los Angeles Chorale, an incredible group of musicians who are often used in the movies. So that's what's coming up next Thursday evening here on The Conversation and our live stream. So it's just reached midnight in the UK and a little earlier in the day in LA. Thank you so much for watching. And if you've got anyone that you would like to hear from in the future, please do get in contact. We would love to hear from you. Simply send us an email to laughingfrogproductions@gmail.com. But as always, I really do appreciate you spending some time with me here and my guests. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you again very soon. Good morning.